Good morning. We're heading to the south today. So we start with, and we're doing grits. And I think I might do some shrimp with mine as well. 2 cups of water, and we bring that to a boil. And then we'll add our half a cup of grits. Well, not small serving, serving of 4. So let's get started. Before we do that, we're gonna add a little salt to our water. So now that we've come to a boil, we pour our grits in and move the water as we pour them so we don't get lumpy grits. Move that around and turn your fire down so that you're simmering and not boiling. And you're gonna mix it often to make sure that lumps don't form and that it doesn't stick to the bottom. We'll add our cream later once some of the water is absorbed, because I like a really creamy grit. Another reason you don't want it to boil too hard is because you don't want the water to evaporate too fast. Because these are stone ground grits and not instant grits or quick grits, you need some time in here. And if you like a more savory, if you like more savory grits, or grit, whatever. If you like savory, you can put chicken broth in here instead, or vegetable broth, if you don't eat meat. And it'll be more savory, and then you can add some cream with it so that you can maybe have a different type of flavor for your grits. So we'll let this cook for a while. I'm gonna turn it up so I can get a little simmer in there. And we'll come back just repeatedly, just keep coming back to make sure that you're moving it around and making sure that it stays smooth. All right, so after a few minutes, we come to this thickness, which is pretty good, but we want it a little creamier. If it gets too thick too fast, you add a bit of water and stir it again to make sure it all incorporates and it doesn't create chunks. Because if you add cold water to hot product, it may create some chunks. So after a few minutes, you see we've gotten to a consistency that's a little thicker. Let me show you. And so if it gets too thick too fast, you want to add some water so that you can still have that slow cook for your grits. So when you add that cold water, sometimes it'll make chunks because you're adding cold to hot product. And so after you add that water, you want to make sure you stir it. Just the secret to good grits is just keep moving them. It's like risotto, it's like polenta. You just want to keep moving it. It's like cornmeal porridge for the West Indians in the room. Okay. So we'll let that cook a little bit longer and come back to it. Okay, so as you can see, the consistency is a lot thicker. I like my grits a little thicker, or to be just a tiny bit thicker than this. So I'm gonna let a little bit more water come out, and then I'm gonna add some cream. I feel like when I add cream at the end, I have more control of how creamy my grits are gonna be. It may be just my thing, but that's what I do. So we'll let this go for a little bit longer, and then we'll add a little bit of cream. Okay, so you see we're getting there. We started off way thinner than this. Now we're getting really thick. I like for my grits to pool, not to clump like a hill or a mountain. So this would be about the texture. I'm gonna take, like I said, just a tiny bit more water out, and then I'll add cream and let that smooth out. And then we'll start putting a little bit of flavor for tasting so that we make sure that there's enough salt. I like to put butter in mine. You can dress it up however you like. You know, those that are of the sugar school, you can add your sugar, I guess. But around these parts, we just add butter and cream. All right. So we've evaporated some more of the water. Now I'm just going to add about a 1/4 cup of cream to it. We'll start with that to see if I like the flavor and the consistency. Cooking is about feel. It's less about measuring everything. And that's what I learned a lot of in culinary school. Once you feel it and know what you have, then you can start writing it down to say, okay, this is how you should do it, so that you can direct other people. But you see, notice the texture change. It got creamier. Obviously the color changed. That's gonna be delicious. But of course now it is a little thin for my taste. So we let it cook just a little bit more to get just a little bit thicker. A lot of people ask the question, what is the difference between grits and polenta? The word. So these grits are white corn, and so they're more traditional, but you could have yellow corn grits and they'd just be yellow, which would make it look more like polenta. Polenta is typically with the yellow corn. So that is the difference. And you can have your corn ground, you know, stone ground, or, you know, pulverized to be like powder, and then you have like corn flour or cornmeal. So there's really no difference. It's just the texture or the color. Look at that beautiful consistency. All we've got is grits, water, heavy cream, salt, and just time. A lot of people rush the grits, and so you end up getting a very gritty grit, which is kind of, you know, in namesake, but most people want to have creamy. And so that means you need the pieces of corn to cook really well and slow. So you can add as much butter as you like, or as little butter as you like. But I like to add it at the end and just bring it all the way through. And let that melt through, and then we'll be ready to go. In this pan, I just really simply had some shrimp that I had already cooked, took it out of the freezer, and I just added Old Bay real quick. The shrimp was already cooked with Goya adobo, so I already had some flavor and salt. But to give it kind of a Cajun taste, I just put Old Bay. I didn't do the peppers and all this stuff. It was just something quick so that I can hurry up and eat breakfast, because I got up a little bit late. It's always important to taste your food. So delicious. The buttery creaminess. It's not crunchy, so we know it cooked well. It is stone ground, so it's a larger granule or piece of corn, but it's delicious. Okay, so we all like a beautiful plate. I'm gonna use a spoon because Look at that. You see that creaminess? So we put some grits at the bottom of the bowl. You can plate it or you can put it in a bowl. Oops, we got a little mess there. Okay. We're gonna put, I just felt like having eggs. Usually you just do shrimp and grits, but I just felt like having eggs too, so put some eggs there. We put some shrimp on there. You know that your shrimp isn't cooked too hard if it's not tight when you plate it or when you eat it. That's about as tight as you want the curl to go. To loosen up the liquids in the pan, you can add a little water, you can add broth. I added water and a little bit of butter to emulsify so that I can get just a little bit of flavor from the shrimp in the pan. And that's what we got. Voila.